my nose.
I'm going to fix it.
I would ask for so much money that I had to put me on layaway.
Does he know any of these plays?
Give him a chance, all right? The guy knows the basic package, but he's only taking
I got a yoga. You got a yoga video camera. I got a laptop.
Who's your daddy?
It's my team. It's my team.
They can't. The mics ain't live yet. Okay.
No.
It's my quarterback.
There's no crying.
Football. And you know this, man.
Welcome to the Prep Stars Football Report. Here's your host, Derek Denham.
Just can't touch it.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Prep Stars Football Report. I'm your host, Derek Denham. And as always, I have my esteemed guest, Mr. Reggie Booby Wins.
Hey. Happy Thanksgiving, gobble, gobble.
One more day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm waiting on that dressing and candy yams, baby.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Another 10 pounds.
15. I'm going to enjoy it, too.
Right. Well, hey, look, looking forward to it. Want to wish everyone out there that's listening happy holidays. We got a big show tonight, real big show. We got Mr. Ray Buford, Sr. He's in studio tonight with us, and he's going to be talking about Title IX, which is a very controversial subject. A lot of different players have been affected by this. A lot of people have been affected by this, and it's it's a polarizing subject, and we wanted to talk about it. I think it needs to be talked about. You know, whether you think it's a good thing, whether you think it's a bad thing, our job is to present it. And people like Ray that, have dealt with that as far as from being a father, as having a son at a Power 5 school, we thought it was important to present it. So we look forward to talking to Ray tonight. And also on the show, we've got Mr. Devin Gardner. Reg, as you know, a quarterback who legendary for the state of Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So we happen to have Devin.
Walking Billboard 98, baby.
Right. And again, Devin was one of our early athletes at Playmaker U.
Yes.
And then we also have Mr. Ron Bellamy. Ron was a standout receiver for the University of Michigan as well. And currently he's the coach at West Bloomfield High School football. So we're glad to have Ron as well as Devin that's going to be in studio tonight.
Yeah, Ron produces a lot of Division I prospects out of that West Bloomfield school, so He's doing a great job as a coach.
Right. And then also, we've got the guys from the South, some former Buckeyes. Well, we got one former Buckeye, Mr. Chris Beanie Wells, running back for Ohio State University back in the day. He's going to be joining us via telephone. And then we have Mr. John Chubb, a.k.a. Mr. Buckeye himself, super fan. So if you've seen Ohio State football games, you've seen Mr. Chubb. So he's going to be joining us along with Sean Sear, our 247 Insider. And again, big show. So Reg, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit of recruiting. Recruiting.
This weekend is the state playoff, and we got some doozies going for you guys. We got Clarkston versus Chippewa Valley. It's going to be a very great game. I'm taking Chippewa. I like what they got going over there with the David Ellis kid and the Jakimson kid, the Chinook kid. They got some players over there. There's some stud muffins, as I call them. Okay, so we're going there, and I can't decline on what Coach Richardson done over there at Clarkson. Phenomenal coach every year, guys. This guy been there 4 times out of 6 years.
No doubt.
And he has done phenomenal things with the little talent that he have.
Right.
But he's big at defensive lineman, offensive lineman this season. He got a running back from Heartland last year, transferred as good running back. I like him. Mm-hmm. But he got the probably best 2 D linemen and I think the Stringer kid. They got a great team. Rocco and the Splinter and the other guy.
Yeah, Rocco.
What's the big guy named? He's hurt.
Spindler.
He's one of them is hurt.
Yeah.
And they
That's
got
Mark Spindler's son.
Yes.
He's played for the Lions.
Yes.
Correct.
And then they got the one gentleman, the kid out there, Kavar Ellis. 6'3".
Well, no.
Ellis played for Clarkson. Played D tackle. Sophomore. He's a big boy.
Right.
And I've been watching him the last 2 games. He's been doing very well. For a sophomore. Petey's son.
Petey's son. What's up, Petey?
Yeah. So he got some tools, and it's going to hard to beat Clarkson. But I think Chip has the most talent out there, and they've been playing great football. So
I gotta chime in because I think Chippewas, they're gonna win it all.
Yeah.
I think Clarkson can't score enough points.
That's true.
I think that's what's going to be the difference. I
That's
think
true.
they want to run the ball, slow it down, but a Chippewa can get up 10 points, 14,
Yes.
ball game.
Ball game, yeah, because they can't throw the ball like Chippewa can.
Correct.
With Tommy Schuster out there. So I'm a Chippewa fan. I love Clarkson because Clarkson beat the heck out of us several times in the last 10 years. Right. So them guys is doing a great job. And then we have Division II. We have the big boys, which is Warren De La Salle.
No doubt.
And then we have Mona Shores, who like to throw that ball around the field. Okay. Two opposite teams. De La Salle is a powerhouse run. They got some studs on defense, Michael Young. They got a big offensive lineman with Grant Toutant. They got Josh Dewberry. Mm-hmm. They got a young quarterback that can really fly, was pretty good.
Sure.
The Mona Shores, man, the quarterback is a stud muffin. They got a receiver that's good. Mona Shores been there last 3 years out of 5 or 2 years out of 5, and they phenomenal. Coach had done a great job with them guys, and they have some athletes.
Right.
So they got 2 guys committed to Western Michigan this season. That middle linebacker, Wahlberg's a stud muffin.
Okay.
So it's going to be an interesting game, man. So that's Division II.
I got De La Salle in that one as well.
You got De La Salle?
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about one more and
Okay,
maybe 2 more.
Sure.
Detroit King versus
Oh,
Muskegon.
Oh, rematch.
Rematch.
From earlier in the year.
But Cameron Martinez kid, man, and he has turned it on.
Player of the year?
Player of the year. Just picked up a Michigan offer, Northwestern offer.
Right.
He's an athlete. He's a stud muffins, as I call him as well.
Sure.
But he's not the only thing they have over there because they got some big boys.
Okay.
So they big up front. And King has just been, Spencer and them guys been doing a phenomenal job, baby. They got a bunch of stud muffins out there. I hope Trub playing this weekend.
Right.
But King, I'm going with King. I'm taking the underdogs.
Sure.
I'm going with my boys because I like what Spencer have done out there in Detroit. They do what they do out there, and I love them. And I'm wishing all luck. I can't forget the quarterback, DeQuan Finn, which I think he is the best player in the city of Detroit, and he's one of the top dogs in the country. That's one of my favorite players. So he's going to do well. King's going to do well. It's going to be a great game.
Who you got? Who you got?
I got Detroit King upset Muskegon.
Well, as much I know we should be pro Detroit, and I got Ray looking at me over here, but I'm sorry, I got to go with Muskegon. I got to go with Muskegon.
Oh, we got tacos on that one,
Yeah,
baby.
so we want to, we can make a little wager. You all looking at me side out. We can put it on the table now.
we got tacos on the table, baby. Tacos.
We can put it on the table. Put the money on the table now.
All right.
But I mean, my heart is with King, so let me clarify. But my head, and they always tell you to go with your head, not your heart. I got to go with Muskegon.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a great game.
I'm going to be there. And then there was one more I want to talk about that Division 7. New Lathrop.
Yes.
Madison Heights.
Madison Heights.
Ah, baby. It's going
I remember Madison Heights.
Both quarterbacks. Avery Moore is the quarterback for New Lathrop, about 6'3", 2020 kid. Got a gun. Then they have the young receiver that transferred from Flushing.
Sure.
Which is Aiden Harris. Is committed to Missouri. I'm going to say this. He's a stud muffin. He's 30-something touchdowns in right now.
Okay.
And I really like the guy. But see, you know what? I got my high school Tom Brady in the game, which is with Austin Brown. He's a stud muffin as well. He's a leader. He's committed to Marshall playing baseball.
And where was Austin at before?
Austin was at Catholic Central.
That's
over there with Justin Sante.
That's right.
And Austin, he plays 7-on-7 with me.
Okay.
And we won the championship with this guy. And he's just a cerebral quarterback. He's a gre's kid. His father's the principal over there at Madison Heights.
Right.
They've done a phenomenal job. The coach is from Michigan. I can't remember his name, but he's the head coach over there and turned that program around in 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
James Rogers.
James
Rogers.
Yeah. So
wide receiver, University of Michigan.
Yeah.
Track guy.
Yes, done a phenomenal job with Madison. Greg Raspberry's over there. Shout out for Greg from Pontiac.
Shout out Greg.
Hey, but Coach Wins will be there, man. I'm wishing you guys the best.
No doubt.
But I'm all over Madison Heights winning this game by 10. Because I'm just a fan of Austin. Is a cerebral kid and he can do it. I don't know if they got a talent like New Lathrop got it.
Right.
But I don't know New Lathrop ever seen Madison Heights needed. So
Right.
it's a different ball game.
Right.
So I'm taking Madison Heights.
Well, since we got Mr. Buford here, we don't want to ignore you. We're going to bring you in a second. What's your thoughts? Who you got, man?
Well, I haven't been as involved in watching as much as I used to since my son graduated. So all my picks is heart picks. So
okay. So King, give us your King and Muskegon.
I'm going with King.
Okay.
you know, but I'm not putting no tacos up. I'm just going with them.
Right.
Because, you know, they from the D, I'm from the D.
Right.
Sure.
Let's get it on.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
I'm going with James
Okay.
Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
You know, because, you know, I seen the kid
Phenomenal.
when he was a kid running out there, and
I remember.
Big Tink,
I remember.
you know, it's his
Yes.
brother and his dad, you
Yes.
know. So it's all heart picks. Let's get it, baby.
Okay.
Let's go.
See, I love taking guys' heart picks. I love taking y'all money.
I know. I know. So hey, it makes see what's happening. So hey, good luck to everybody out there that I did not mention.
Right.
But good luck. I will see you guys Friday and Saturday.
Biggest weekend of the year for high school football.
Absolutely.
Biggest weekend of the year. And again, we want to, you know, we rooting for all you Michigan guys, obviously, Detroit guys, and stay safe. You know, we'll be there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what we want to do now, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Mr. Ray Buford, and then we're going to talk Title IX. We'll be right back with the Prep Stars Football Report.
Chicken and shrimp. You take the easy one top.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Prep Stars Football Report. I'm your host, Derek Denham. And as always, I know I introduced him, but I'm going to introduce him again. Again, Mr. Reggie Booby Wins, my co-host. And we have Mr. Ray Buford in the house. Ray has given us the honor of his presence tonight in studio. And we're going to talk about Title IX, which is a very important landmark federal civil right which prohibits sex discrimination in education. It addresses discrimination against pregnant, parenting, and athletic students and women in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math programs. It also addresses sexual harassment, gender-based discrimination, and sexual violence. As part of the Education Amendments of 1972, Title X prohibits discrimination in education on the basis of sex. Title IX, covers all levels in areas of education, including athletics, vocational, technical education. Title IX has helped women and girls, men and boys benefit from more equitable treatment and attain more equitable outcomes. However, gender disparities based on traditional stereotypes and subtle but damaging discrimination still persist. Everybody, welcome to the show, Mr. Ray Buford Sr.
Thank you.
What's
Thank
up,
you.
Ray?
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm all good, you know.
I just want to say, man, thank you for coming on and discussing such an important topic. I've talked to a lot of people I've tried to get a Title IX coordinator to come on the show to no avail.
Yeah.
And I don't want to read anything into that, but it's been a problem trying to find someone to come in and discuss that. So I appreciate you, because I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, and for those that's listening out there, just to give you a little backdrop, Ray's son, Ray Buford Jr., he attended a Power 5 school, and he got caught up in this particular situation, which resulted in no charges being filed.
Yep.
So, again, Ray, thank you for the show, coming down to the
Absolutely.
show. And this is such a polarizing subject, and I admire your courage to come in and talk about that.
Well, I feel like it's such an important topic because if you look in the news, if you look into our programs, a lot of our kids that has gone on to play college athletics are being affected by this by Title IX.
Right.
You know, and so just like we train to run fast, you know, just like we train to run routes and backpedal and all that stuff good, we have to train and be aware of what's waiting for you once you reach that next level.
That's right.
So, you know, before I go any further into it, it's such a touchy subject.
Sure.
You know, so I want to make sure that I let everyone know that the views that I discuss here are my views.
Understood.
By no way are they the views of my employer, you know.
Right.
So don't try to call down there and get me fired or anything
Yes,
like
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
And these are views from our side. So we're not here to talk about actual sexually abused women or people.
Sure.
You know, because I found that in my experience, when you try to defend yourself with these accusations, then you're labeled as as victim shaming and things like that. So we
Enabler.
enabler.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so by no means do we condone that heinous act. But we're talking about when you have not committed this act.
Correct.
You know, and the things that are waiting for you.
Right.
Yes.
On the other end.
On the other hand, where they will make you guilty regardless.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Well, again, we appreciate that you coming in and talking about that. Let me just start off. Again, we don't have to get into the whole backdrop, but once Ray was basically cleared of everything,
yeah.
what was the reaction? I mean, well, no, let's go back a little further.
Okay.
When he first was accused of this particular piece, what was your thoughts? How did you react?
Well, like any other parent, scared.
Right.
You know, you want to know what happened. You know, and you know, before we even knew of a Title IX, we was just worried about not going to jail.
Right.
You know, it wasn't until later, you know, that we really learned of Title IX and its strength.
Right.
You know, so my first thing, you know, just in my profession and expertise was to get the stories.
Understood.
You know, and anybody who knows or followed the story, because it was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. So, you know, when you seen the university protesting and refusing to play in a bowl game and stuff like that, we were on the top of the news, you know. And so, you know, the first thing for me was to get the stories, and my professional instinct kicked in, because it wasn't just my son. Right. It was my son, and I think the number grew to like 10.
10.
And it ended up being 5, right?
It ended up being 5, which my son was part of the initial 5.
Sure.
But by the time you know, the young lady finished with her story, it grew to 10.
Correct.
So,
and I guess what's mind-boggling that the boys never got charged
yeah,
and got expelled from school.
yeah.
So how do we deal with that? I mean, that's frustrating because I know all the boys, and I'm not condoning what done was wrong or right. But my point is I just wish we had some type of hearing before we let all the information out and try to save the boys in school.
Yeah.
Because now it's tough to try to get somewhere else.
And the way they handled it up there was really, really backwards.
Yes, it was.
You see some other universities where they have the same allegations,
Yes.
where you never even knew who the kids were until they were actually criminally charged.
That's correct. And that's what it's supposed to be. That's
with our kids, here you go.
They put us all out there.
They put us all out there,
Right.
And so in this day of social media, I can't even tell you the inboxes and things that the threats and stuff that I received and my son received, and it got terrible. But what you're speaking of, Reggie, is the fine line between the justice system and Title IX.
Title IX. That's correct.
So even though you weren't criminally charged, Title IX has been empowered to really hold court, what they refer to as kangaroo court.
Okay.
So even if the judges and the police say this isn't even enough evidence to charge you,
Correct.
Title IX is being used as a weapon to get their pound of flesh.
Wow. So is the word they've been using ethical? Being ethical? I mean, all the stuff that jumped on, because I know I heard a couple media guys talking about being ethical. It's not just ethical, despite you right or wrong.
Yeah. You've had I've seen some interviews with Harvard law professors that challenges and totally disagrees with the premise of Title IX.
Yes.
Because one thing I can speak towards is when you're criminally charged and you go to court, you have to prove that beyond reasonable doubt.
That's right.
But with Title IX, it's the preponderance of evidence.
Yes.
So, which means it could have likely happened. So just take reasonable doubt,
Right.
where you gotta prove this, and then take preponderance of the evidence, where it's 50.0001 that this might have happened, and that's that's the system, that's the kangaroo court you're up against. So what they tell you is we're only doing preponderance of the evidence because it isn't a criminal charge, but then they criminally charge you in their school.
Correct.
So we're going to lower the level of proof, but we're going to still hold court on you for a criminal charge.
Correct.
So it's almost like you're destined to be guilty.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I see your wheels turning, D.
Oh, my wheels are turning because I guess the part that confuses me is, well, let me ask you this. So how were you alerted that, or it was made known that he wasn't going to be charged? How did that come down? If you can talk about that.
Yeah, I can talk about that. The Minneapolis PD, which investigated it, their sex crimes unit.
Sure.
They investigated it for, I want to say, about a month. And this is in season, guys.
In season.
This is in season.
So he's not allowed to play.
He's not allowed to play. Well, at the University of Minnesota.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
But at that university, you weren't allowed to play. They pulled you off the field. So even though you haven't been charged or anything, come off the field. So it was about a month. So I was pissed. We're losing reps, playtime,
right.
practice. I'm talking about you at the crib.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And because what year was this for him? As far
this
as
was his red shirt freshman year.
Yeah,
So he had just
start playing.
He had just started playing. He's in the lineup. He's getting good play time and things like that. So you're off the field.
Right.
So that's when we learned of it, and they just held him off until then. So
Wow.
yeah,
it was deep. I kind of followed it pretty big. It was just nerve wracking. I understand the protocol, how things work, but it was just terrified. I was terrified for the boys.
Yeah, and like you said, especially when like guys like us, we follow Ray, you know, Junior.
we're all close.
We're all close, and then
Yeah.
you know we want to take it a little further outside of your particular case. You know, the guys at Michigan State, we knew all of them as well.
Yeah.
And
But
you know, when you follow and you got a relationship with the parents,
Yeah,
it's tough because you don't know what to say.
yeah,
You know, because I've never been through that. You don't know. You know, you want to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, everything good?" Which, you know, what do you say to someone at that particular
it's
time?
nothing that you can do. Say really, it's just be supportive. But you know, when I talked to the sergeant
Sure.
that was over the case, around that month time, you know, I was getting word that there wouldn't be any charges, and the words that the sergeant over the case used was, "Mr. Buford, this is a case of buyer's remorse." You know, and so you know, that's to put it mildly.
Get it?
Right.
We get it.
Right.
You know, and so we were confident that we weren't going to be charged and things like that.
Was there any? Was there a chance of trying to do any civil lawsuits or anything like that? You know, sometimes, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, with your background, you may know a little bit more than I know. But a lot of times, sometimes they can't charge you here, but they'll try to do something with civil.
Yeah. Well, funny thing, well, not a funny thing, but a thing that happened in our case was when the young lady found that the boys wasn't going to be charged, they set back and the boys returned to the field. And about 2 weeks afterwards, she filed a personal protection order.
PPO, yes.
You know, but you know, the place that she feared that she was in danger was the
Football stadium.
football stadium.
Yeah.
So it was some gamesmanship. So now our boys was taken off the field again because
Correct.
you know, you got a personal protection order against you.
Correct.
So you can't go into the football stadium.
Right.
And so you know, but the thing is when she filed that personal protection order, that made her have to come to court.
Got it.
You know, and so you know, since the police didn't file any charges, we weren't going to court.
Understood.
But since she filed that personal protection order,
Now
we
she
got to
gotta
come
come
to court.
Okay.
And so once we got to court, now they had to talk about
The
the
case.
situation
Understood.
and the case, you know. And so in that proceeding, one of the kids that was part of, well, she didn't accuse him, but she tried to eliminate him from her story. But he was an underage kid. And so, and when I say underage, by the home state that he lived in, he was underage.
Right.
But by the statutes in the
Minnesota.
state of Minnesota, he was of age.
Correct.
Understood.
And so our attorney was able to get her to admit that, you know, that kid was in the room. And when she admitted that that kid was in the room, her case, you know,
Basically fell apart.
It fell apart. And so what she did was pled the Fifth Amendment,
Wow.
you know. And so, but the judge, you know, he pulled him to the side and he said, "You guys come up with an agreement." And this is speaking towards the civil
The
suit.
civil suit.
You know, and what she asked for in that agreement, only thing she asked for was that the boys not sue her.
That's it.
That's it. That's all she wanted, was to not be sued.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But now our boys is no longer in school.
You know,
We just lost $70,000 in
well,
education.
we're still in school.
Now.
Well, he meant
Then.
once that happened.
Then.
Because they were out for a while, right?
But they were still in school though.
Okay.
Until the semester. So until the semester. So,
Nope.
Go ahead.
So now she's eliminated everything justice system wise.
Okay.
Now you're coming into the court of Title IX.
Yes.
Okay.
And so now we're clear and we're on the field and we're happy. Good. We, cool. If the justice system said no, we know that Title IX is going to say no. And then Title IX came and said, even though they said no, we're saying yes.
And that's what I was speaking about, the ethical part. They saying it's just not ethical to do whatever it done in the situation. And I heard that from a few people, like, well, he maybe did nothing wrong, but they was there and it wasn't ethical enough to do anything.
Right.
So Title IX took place and said, hey, we don't want you here.
Yep.
Now, here's a question. I mean, what if, because I remember the case being at the end of the first semester, and you had to go back for the second semester to go to court with the Title IX. What if they didn't go back to school to finish the first semester up? Would that still went to court, or would they drop the whole Title IX case?
That's how we ultimately ended up transferring out.
Correct.
Because now you're talking about credits and
Correct.
eligibility,
Yes.
and stuff like that. And that's why we thought it was best for us to pull Ray out then. That way he could pull out of his classes and not get a,
just drop zero.
a zero, or, I
credit,
forget
short
what
credit.
Yep.
Right.
And he was able to transfer to the junior college.
Correct.
But before all of that came the Title IX investigation. And this is where parents and these kids aren't aware of.
Sure.
This Title IX investigation is really controlled by, I'm not going to say victim, I'm going to say accuser.
Sure.
It's controlled by the accuser. So in this investigation, the Title IX investigator, there was other people in the house, and they picked and choose who they talked to, because they're doing their own thing. This isn't like the PD.
Understood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you turning over every rock and all that stuff like that. They were actually picking and choosing who they wanted to talk
And
to.
evidence.
And evidence,
Right.
And so, and that's, I think what
You and I talked about that, right?
Yeah, so they're picking and choosing. So there's people that was in that apartment that day that they still have not talked to and were informed that those people, those individuals were in that apartment.
Have you researched Title IX ever losing? Because I researched and I couldn't find nobody Title IX lost to, or the case went against them. I haven't seen one yet.
There's a lot of cases.
Well, Ray.
Really?
Well, Ray, when you say losing,
No,
you
no,
mean
I
where
mean,
the victim.
No matter what, he beat the justice system, but he didn't lose in Title IX.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he didn't beat
Yeah.
Title IX. So my point is, have anybody defeated Title IX and stayed into school?
Well,
Great question.
See, I don't know.
I think situation at Ohio State kid, where I would say that would be a defeat for Title IX.
Okay.
But it never got to Title IX. If we speaking on the same case, it never went to Title IX.
Well, I don't.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not sure.
And that's one of the cases we talk about. One
Yeah.
case that I know about some players there, and it never went to Title IX. It was
Okay.
taken care of internally before
Yeah.
it got to that point.
Yeah.
So which
Yeah.
it should be. It should
Yeah.
investigate it,
Yeah.
take care of it. Then
Yeah.
if you can't defeat or dissolve anything, then you go to Title IX.
Yep.
So what's the biggest misconception about Title IX? And you're, again, without divulging into what you do, what's the biggest misconception about Title IX? In your opinion, I mean, when people hear about it, because again, it's almost like a taboo type deal. I wasn't really aware of it until your son went through it, and then the kids that we knew at Michigan State. What is it that, and you again, you have a daughter, right?
Yep.
You got a son, you married.
Yep.
Because it's because there's gonna be people out there. They're gonna like you said, you heard all the negative things and blah blah blah. But what's the biggest misconception about Title IX? Or let's put it this way: if you said Title IX you need to get rid of that, why should someone want to get rid of Title IX?
It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. It's a guilty and proven innocent process, and
So you're guilty before.
you're guilty before. You have people that they put over the investigation.
Sure.
That's who can investigate sexual misconduct better than the police. You know what I mean? And now you got an office worker,
A coordinator
running an investigation, and then you get to who's going to judge a case better than a judge. You end up in a school hearing, and in our experience, you ended up in a school hearing with students. And it was supposed to be fair. It was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was four students. So two women, two males. One male who was I don't know what's the proper term, that politically correct term that we're using.
We don't have to be politically correct here.
That chose the homosexual lifestyle.
Got you.
So, I don't know if that's 3 women and 1 male.
Sure.
And if my memory serves correctly, none was African American.
Understood. Understood.
So
do you and you brought up African American? Do you think, is this one of these situations where you think is bias against African Americans, or is this just against the athletes as a whole?
I mean, one could make a case.
Yeah, you can make a case, but
you could make a case, but I think it still goes to the system.
There's a couple of cases out there, and I can name one. A fraternity, and he was an African American, out in Baylor, Texas. So he got charged. As a matter of fact, he got charged with rape, and he got in prison. So it's different cases out there.
Yeah.
But the end results, how do we fix this? What do we tell our boys and our girls? How do we fix this? Because we're not going to win.
And I'm glad you said that, Reg, because Ray, when you and I talked, and I give you total credit for this. You being very totally transparent. I hope you don't mind me saying this.
Yeah.
But one thing that you said to me, you said the only thing that my son was guilty of was what? Being
not respecting himself.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to start.
And that's what Title IX has been saying. I mean, respecting yourself and putting yourself in a situation where somebody got to judge you.
Yep.
So the Title IX, again, they say it's not ethical. We're not going to do anything about it, and it's scary.
Yep.
And because it's more than one, and it's funny how you have to do this. You got to send out to all your fellow football players or athletes a consent form application on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's scary. You have to protect yourself.
And that's one of the main points that I want to drive home is to our parents and our young men.
Sure.
Is you got to start with self-respect first.
Yes,
no doubt.
Yes, people say, which I agree with too, you have to respect women.
No doubt.
But I think if you start respecting yourself, then you'll automatically respect the woman. And then
But see what happened, and we're all guys. I mean, we guys here, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there listening. When we was coming up, Reg, I mean, things happen. You know what I mean? It was like, you partying and the girls and boo, 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 boo. And it kind of sounds like, and I know this is touchy, but things happen. But now what I tell kids is, it's to the point now where it's abstinence. I mean, I'm just keeping it real.
It is.
It's just keeping it real because the things that we probably could get away with years ago, even
without social media.
Without social media.
Yeah.
And you just cannot be in in certain situations. You just got to remove yourself altogether.
Yeah.
I think Ray said it best. Man.
Sure.
And it is not just for the young men respecting themselves. The women's got to respect themselves as well.
Yeah.
True.
You can't put yourself in a situation where somebody's going to challenge your authority or challenge your personality.
Yeah.
You got to respect yourself and do the right thing.
But I'm going to flip it around on you.
Yes.
This just doesn't happen to women.
Yeah.
This happens to men.
Well, I know.
Or boys. So young male athletes as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm saying it could get switched around.
Oh, it does.
Because Ray, from what you told me, the young lady down there, she could have got accused.
Yeah.
Because of the recruit, right? Because she was older, correct?
Yep. Yep. She was older than all
the boys.
And so, but what people need to realize is this Title IX is while the intent was to rein in campus sexual misconduct.
Offenders.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's being weaponized
Got you.
to entrap and hurt these.
Or they say protect.
Yeah.
That's the word,
Yeah.
protect.
You know, and so you have to know that once you start dealing with this Title IX, it's a whole different
Ballgame.
world.
Sure.
And it been thousands and thousands of cases. I mean, you can name the ones
Yeah.
at Baylor back in early 90s, mid-90s, where about 3 or 4 of them been in prison.
Yep.
If you remember the gentleman that's playing ball for Baylor that was going to the combine.
No doubt.
Yep.
And he couldn't play in the NFL because he
Yeah.
got in prison because of that. So
Yeah.
I understand what Title IX is trying to do. They're trying
Right.
to protect
Yeah.
the
Right.
women's.
Yeah.
But we have
Or
to
kids,
or
period.
kids, period.
Men and women, right.
But we have to really teach our kids the right way of doing things.
No doubt.
Our attorney found, during our his investigation and stuff, that there was a term going around called nining, and they was like, well, what does nining mean? And nining was a term that young ladies on the campus was using. They found out that if you had a Title IX case, you were giving a pass grade on all of your classes that you were in that set.
Yes.
Wow.
And so they would, when it come time for finals and stuff,
Sure.
they would say, "I'm a 9 me somebody."
Wow.
And so now you don't have to take finals and stuff like that, But one thing that I want to do is just give a few examples
Sure,
from
please.
our case
Please.
that will make people think. If people followed our case, when the boys was cleared, they were back on the field, and then this 82-page report came out. And this 82-page report was a whole different account of that night by the young lady that she gave to the Title IX office. And so this spooked me, because when I read that, I was like, oh, my goodness,
Wow.
These are cavemen, But she was allowed to do that
Sure.
because she didn't have the fear of perjuring herself or having an answer to that in the justice system.
Right.
And so that's when it hit ESPN, when they boycotted.
Correct.
Right.
And people were all saying, well, they boycotting. The reason they called the boycott off is because they seen this 82-page report and they figured that they done it. No, they boycotted is because they knew the truth and they were upset that they were suspending
The
teammates,
boys. Okay.
their teammates, off of this
Report.
off of this false
report.
I called the PD again because they took that report, and I'm really scared now. Like, what are we going to do now? What are you guys going to do now?
Right.
And again, that unit said, Mr. Buford, there is a whole lot of new words in this, but there is no new evidence. So
Wow.
basically what the Title IX office up there allowed her to do was to see what words and things that she didn't report to the police to get them guilty and put them in their report. And so now you have to go to a hearing according to this report.
Gotcha.
Another thing, the Student Senate out there, they were, the Student Senate,
Right.
they were on record on Twitter and stuff saying how guilty those boys was.
Sure.
Some of those Student Senate members was on the judge panel.
Oh, wow.
So they were guilty even before
Before
they
they tried.
before they tried them.
Now let me clarify. I mean, let me understand.
We got
something.
about 5 minutes. 5
Let
minutes.
me
I'm sorry.
understand something. The 82-page report, that same report goes to the next university where your son is trying to get in.
Yes. Yes.
So if that is so incriminating, and the problem is trying to get into the school, because now
It's trying to
they have
get
to make a
into the
decision
school.
on this report, and it's really
Yeah.
not what it is.
So that affected my son. You guys seen where he ended up at the junior college.
Yeah.
Seen that.
Last Chance U and
Yeah.
all that
Yep,
stuff.
seen
Cool.
that.
But what you don't know is that he was already ready to go to another junior college
That's
Didn't know
correct.
that.
out in Arizona.
That's correct. Western.
Yep. And they and I want to say, what was it, 3-4 days before he was supposed to go, they pulled out.
Pulled out.
They didn't want to take the heat from it.
They didn't want to take the heat from it.
The quote unquote sponsors
Yep.
was not going to give any more money to the university or the junior college because they bringing these kids in. They won't accept them kids into the university or the junior college.
Yep. And so we were left to scramble again
The last
To
minute.
try to find a school.
to find a school. Also, even after that season that he had at the junior college,
Sure.
we heard from
Oh my God, it's a lot of schools.
from everybody from the #1 team in the nation right now,
Okay.
Yeah.
pretty much on down.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing, but we weren't able
To get in school.
to
They
get in
wouldn't
school.
accept it. Yeah.
You had things in place in the SEC
Sure.
that prohibited them from taking a kid with, I think they said, domestic violence.
Yeah, but see,
situation.
and that is true. It said domestic violence, but I thought they couldn't accept you unless you have a charge.
Yeah,
A misdemeanor or felony,
Yep.
they cannot accept it. But I didn't. Title IX, I'm like, wow, that's not a charge. You didn't
yeah,
even get
yeah.
charged.
That's not a charge. But see, the thing is even though they didn't have a charge, the universities weren't willing to deal with
Yes, the backlash.
the backlash.
Yes.
You know, and that's one thing that we're so thankful
At his new school.
at his new school
Sure.
because they even done a story out there.
Really?
They done a story out there, but they was like, look, we did our due diligence and we stayed. We're confident in his character references, and
Right.
this is our guy.
Yeah.
You know, so
And he's currently now playing very well.
Yeah. See, he had his first INT.
yeah,
Seen
yeah,
that.
yeah. So,
I'm sure, man. I'm sure tears had to come to your eyes.
oh man, yeah. And I was up. You know, that was Mountain West time, so we was up at 1:30 in the morning. And I
Yes.
think when he grabbed it, I woke up the whole neighborhood.
Wow.
You know, even though we were down big,
But
but
20,
the
yeah.
thing is you don't realize how big that was.
No doubt.
No,
about
I
it.
get
You
it. Trust
know,
me.
people don't realize how big that
doubt.
was.
Right.
And I think now what that transitions to is to, you know, show that the asset that he is to be so mentally strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about still got the associate's degree, still kept his grades,
Right.
still played well on the field in the midst of all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and now that's somebody that you want to come and talk to
Oh, absolutely.
your young kids
No
and tell
doubt.
them, hey man, don't go that way. Because he was the kid that I was saying, don't go that way. and he didn't believe me, you know, and as
Right.
much as people would think, why would he say this? I'm happy he went through it. I'm happy
Wow.
he went through it. Because that, you know, I know a lot of people thought they were, you know, and I appreciate the prayers and the advice.
No
But
doubt.
they thought they were giving me, did you say this to your son? You're not telling me
Something you didn't know.
something that I didn't know
Right.
and something that I didn't
Absolutely.
say.
That's right.
Sometimes, like the old folks say, experience is the best
Best teacher.
teacher.
Oh, hey, best teacher.
And,
yeah.
you know, we're here, you know, we're still fighting. And
So
we're gonna keep going.
so one last thought
Okay.
for a young man that's going through this same situation, or no, let's take that off the table. What advice would you have to young men that's playing this game, football, high school, about to go to college, and seeing what you and Ray went through? What advice would you have for them right now?
You have to get ready for life outside of that Saturday because it is a total predatory environment.
Yes.
Monday or Sunday
Through
through Friday,
Yeah.
it's a total predatory environment, you know, and just because it's a fantasy don't mean you have to make it come true.
Yes.
And you'll have multiple opportunities to make your fantasies come true.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but you have to realize that it's a weapon out there and it's going to get you.
Yeah.
It's going to get you, you know, so
Just be careful, be mindful.
you got to be careful. You got to be mindful. And the faster you run and the more plays you make,
You're more acceptable.
yeah,
They're trying to get
the
you.
bigger target you are.
And it's funny, and
Trying to get you.
and I know we got to go, but Reg, you and I talked about this in the past. Stan Edwards and I talked about this. It's just, I think, like you said, Ray, we focus so much on 40s, verticals, how much you squat. But I think as a whole, as a community, I think we've got to do a better job of prevention. You know what I mean? Where, and I know you said you talked to Ray, but it takes a village.
It takes
and see,
a village.
guys like us, like I said, you know, we are, you know, we love the guys that's doing the athletic prowess and you know whatnot. We get into that, but I think we really got to shift our focus a little bit more of prevention.
Yeah,
you know
just
what I mean.
Include it. Just
Yeah,
include
they
it.
got to include it. Yeah, that's true. We got to
include it.
save.
You know,
We got to save them.
yeah, they want to run to the field, and I get it. I used to play, but you gotta, you know, just like you're preparing for the ACT,
Prepare for life that way.
you gotta prepare for it. You know, even if you give a 1 hour block,
Sure.
you know, because you know it's going to be a boring subject,
Right.
You know,
Right.
just a 1 hour, just to keep their attention. You know, not to outlast their attention span, but you got to start talking about it because it's big.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt. Well, Ray, hey, man, again, much love to you, man, to you and your family and Junior, man. And, man, we just glad for you to come in and provide some insight, you know, for us and our listeners because, again, this is such an important subject.
Yeah.
And we wish nothing but you and Ray and your wife and your daughter,
Yeah.
nothing but the best, man. And we definitely rooting for you.
Appreciate
We're
it.
rooting for Ray as well.
Appreciate it. Let me clear something up.
No,
too.
please do.
I'm Junior.
Oh, yeah.
He's Junior.
I'm Junior. My dad is Senior.
Senior. Okay.
Ray third.
Ray is the second.
That's
We-
Sorry about that.
We messed that up.
Okay.
My wife and I, we messed that up.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, I can say because Ray is the first one that actually has Raymond Romeo Buford,
Right.
that we can call him the second, but he was supposed to be the third.
Okay.
So my dad is Senior, which I tell him all the time. He got it on the back of his jersey. Man, quit trying to be me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
He's the second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for clearing that up because we know to mess
middle name
things
is
up here.
Romeo.
Romeo.
Hey, Ray, you in trouble, baby. I'm hitting you up on this one.
Or like Coach say, Ray.
Ray, I'm texting you on this one, baby.
Just call him Romeo.
Romeo, you got
like,
game. That's
you
the
go
real name.
Either Romeo 711 or Big Frem.
Big Frem. I like the Big Frem.
Big Frem.
Well, Romeo, we appreciate you. Thanks so much, man.
I appreciate
and,
you guys.
We
I
definitely want
appreciate
you to come back.
Yep.
You know, in the future, you know, and
Yeah.
just talk football.
Yeah.
You know, let's just talk football.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
then we'll maybe have, you know, Ray come in the offseason.
Awesome.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Appreciate you, bro.
Ray.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Mr. Sam Webb, WTKA Michigan Insider, and, yeah, we're going to have Mr. Devin Gardner and Mr. Ron Bellamy. So we'll be right back with the Prep Stars Football Report.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Okay. Ray, we're going to take And welcome back to the Prep Stars Football Report. I'm your host, Derek Denham, and I got my co-host in studio, Mr. Reggie Booby Wins. And I just had a great segment with Ray Buford discussing Title IX. And, that's something we could have talked about for another hour.
Yeah, it's a lot of information that we need to get out to these kids. So.
Right.
Hey, stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah, because I would love to get a Title IX professional to come in and kind of give, fill in the gaps for us for the things that, we don't know, our listeners don't know, because it's such a taboo subject. But
yeah, like my grandma said, in layman's terms.
In layman's terms.
So we can understand what's going on, but we got to keep preaching. We got to keep preaching.
Doubt.
So if we get 10 today, we get 20 tomorrow. We just got to keep doing it because they have to learn.
That's right. Well, shifting gears, we have a studio guest, Mr. Ron Bellamy, former University of Michigan wideout, 1999, 2003.
Yeah.
Ron, been knowing Ron since, I've been knowing Ron since our Playmaker U Day. Ron used to come in and work.
Coach the receivers.
Coach the receivers for us. And, man, we just really appreciate you coming in. And
thanks for having me.
Man, no doubt. And we know, for those that don't know out there, you are the current head football coach for West Bloomfield High School. So
yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming in the night before Thanksgiving. I know you got a turkey you got to try to fry or something.
He's watching right now.
Yeah. I'm the taster.
Yeah, a little more salt, Mama. A little more salt.
But and since we was talking about Title IX, Ron, and again, you were a big time athlete at the University of Michigan, and I don't know if Title IX existed when you were there.
It did not, or we didn't know too much about it.
Sure.
But we went through the same dilemmas.
Okay.
Obviously, the kids this day and age, they got to deal with social media.
No doubt.
They have access to a lot more resources than we did when we were in college. But
Sure.
That's something that I know at West Bloomfield we're not shy to talk about.
Okay.
We talk about it all the time. Title IX, getting in trouble. It doesn't matter who you are. If you it does not discriminate. You put yourself in that situation, you will get the outcome that you don't want to see.
Right. That's right.
So what do you tell your boys?
We talk about it, man. We talk about everything from statute of limitations. We talk about what sexual assault is. I'm not afraid to touch that with our kids.
Sure. Hold that thought, Ron, because we've got somebody calling in. We're going to take this call real quick. Who we got on the line? Mr. Sam Webb?
Yes, sir.
Sam Webb. What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. What's going on your way?
Hey, man, appreciate you having you. I know it's a holiday weekend, and like Ron Bellamy, like I told him, I know you got a turkey you're trying to fry, you're trying to do something up there in Ann Arbor, so appreciate you taking your time out. The WTKA's own Mr. Sam Webb, the Michigan Insider, so we really appreciate you having you on the show, Sam.
Man, anytime, my man Derek. I've been knowing you for years, like your grind.
Right.
Always.
No
you
doubt.
call me, I'm there for you.
Well, I appreciate that, and obviously I got Mr. Reggie Booby Wins, my co-host, is in the studio with us well. And
Reggie Wins.
What's up, Sam? Hey, is it true that you can make a good turkey?
No, man, I just eat on Thanksgiving. I don't cook. That's the one day I don't work. I just sit there and eat, man. So I'm gonna enjoy myself.
Yeah, my people say you have some skills.
Hey, I wouldn't doubt it, because I see Sam, he moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. So again, I appreciate you, man, and I know if you knew, but we got Mr. Ron Bellamy in the studio with us as well.
What's up, Sam? What's up, brother?
Yeah, man, it's like a family reunion.
It's the holiday season. That's what it's supposed to be.
That's what we do.
We wait on another Michigan guy in a minute, but let's just jump right into it. This is a big weekend. The game, University of Michigan versus that team down south. I won't say the name because I don't want to get in trouble. But it's just refreshing. I know last year was a big game, Sam and Ron, but it seems like this year it's that much more special. What you think, Sam? Chime in on that for me.
Well, man, this is the second time since Jim Harbaugh has been back with these kinds of stakes. I mean, it was like this in 2016 when Michigan went down there, with within an inch of probably claiming that game. But you know, to me, when I look at this squad and I see the temperament, man, I like attitude. I think as much of football, a lot of football is X's and O's. Skill, talent, that's the majority of it. But I think that the part that often gets you over the hump is attitude. And I think there's an element to this team, an edge to this team, that I think it has helped carry them this far. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that I think will help them as they go down and face an Ohio State team that, Ron can speak to this better than any of us having actually played in this game. It doesn't really matter what they've done before this game. It used to be Michigan coming into this game, obviously a major underdog, but playing totally above and beyond the level that they played up until that point. Yeah. I mean, that certainly was the case when I was at Michigan watching Michigan play this game. It was like, man, Michigan going into this game, 7-4. And Ohio State's undefeated, and Michigan will beat them every year because it just didn't matter. They were able to dial into something, able to channel something that because of the opponent would help you raise your game to another level. But to me, what makes this team, a reasonable bet to go out and live up to being the favorites is beyond the attitude, the edge, the temperament that they have. This is the biggest advantage that they've had along the lines of scrimmage this year. Both lines of scrimmage, I think they have that. And then this is the best quarterback Jim has had since he's been here. I mean, you have a bona fide playmaker, a guy who has all those mental ingredients that I just talked about, and then he has the part of the game that you can't coach. I mean, you can draw plays, all day long. And Pep Hamilton spoke to this today when I was over at Schembechler Hall. He said, "Hey man, we draw plays all the time, but there's sometimes that he does things I can't take credit for. No coach can take credit for. It's just a player, a ball player out there making plays." And so you have that element too. So not only do you have talent, not only do you have attitude, but then you have that intangible quality at the most important position on the field, that when the chips are down and the play breaks down, he can still make it right. I think those are all the things that are going to help them win this game on Saturday.
Right. What you say about that, Ron? What's your thoughts, man?
No, I agree. I think you throw the records out.
Sure.
Actually, today, Sam, Drew Henson's in town. He came by my house today, and we chopped it up for a little bit. And not sure if many of you know, but Drew Henson was the last quarterback to win at the Horseshoe.
Mm-hmm. Really? Wow.
2000.
Didn't
was
know
the last
that.
quarterback to win there. So we're talking about that today, and Drew was saying, man, that's something that he gets asked all the time about, and it's like, I don't want to have that record. I don't want to be known as the guy as the last Michigan quarterback to win there. So hopefully Shea could wipe Drew away, and Shea could take claim to that.
Wow.
But
it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I remember the touchdown he scored, naked bootleg. Getting in the corner of the end zone, and you'll see Shea, I think, put his legs to use. I think that's one of the things that's really unlocked. Mm-hmm. Really unlocked this offense. It's made the run game that much more effective because teams have to respect him as a run threat now. So that's made sledding easier for Karan. And then at the same time, man, a guy that if you need 8-9 yards on a conversion, he doesn't just have to throw it to get it. And that's just, again, that's a piece to the puzzle that Michigan hasn't had, man. I mean, it's just, for years, Ohio State has had that mobile component. I'll never forget 2004. Michigan was favored in that game. I thought you felt like there's no way Michigan was going to lose it. Mm-hmm. And they go down there, and that was Troy Smith's coming out party. And he did it with his playmaking ability, with his legs. So, you got to have those guys that can make it happen when the play breaks down. And finally, Michigan has that to their advantage in this contest, even more so than Ohio State. Ohio State is a team with the pocket guy.
Right.
The pocket guy that if you listen to Urban Meyer, it sounds like he, at least at times, when it comes to their red zone efficiency, has some buyer's remorse because they haven't been the kind of red zone teams they were in the past when they had a quarterback that was a consistent run threat. So, we'll see. That's not to say that Ohio State can't win this game, man. Ohio State certainly can have talent all over the field. I just think that the elements necessary to go into Columbus and win this game, they finally have all of them, I think, on their side of the ledger, and we'll see if they can pull it out.
It's about intimidation, man. This one game, being a former player and being there, you're not afraid. Michigan ain't gonna be afraid to walk through the horseshoe. There's some teams that get intimidated. We play teams that walk to the big house, and you're like, we got them. As soon as they walk through that tunnel, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be a fight pregame. Because I know Coach Harbaugh, I know Coach Brown, I know the temperament of their kids. They're gonna walk through pregame warm-up. It's gonna be a fight. And the reason being is Michigan's they're tired. You've been beat up, and eventually you start fighting people, you start getting bigger, you start getting tougher, you start learning how to win fights, and now you become the bully, and that's what Michigan is. Wow. And they're going to try to impose their will early in this game. The one thing as a coach you talk about is who's going to throw that first shot, who's going to throw that first haymaker, and you got to connect. And if you don't connect and they throw one and they connect, then if you don't wake up from it, it's over, But you got to throw the first punch. And Michigan, they have to do that on Saturday afternoon. They got to come out just like they did against Michigan State. You throw that first punch, you stagger them a little bit, you let them know this for real, dog. This ain't pretend.
Wow. And for me, it feels a little different. Seeing that Michigan is going to the horseshoe, but to me, it seems like they almost favor. I mean, I don't know if you guys get that feel, Reg.
They are.
You know what I mean? And for them to go down to Ohio State and be favored and have that atmosphere or that feel of being favored, I don't think we haven't had that in a while.
We haven't. Like Sam said, 2016, we didn't have a quarterback. Sure. Wilton Spade, and we got exposed because we didn't have a quarterback. Remember the two bad interceptions. But the offense rode the defense the whole season, and then it kind of broke apart. But this year, like I said, it feels a little different. You got a quarterback with some moxie. You got a quarterback. I mean, he's coming from the SEC.
No doubt.
He's played
who
against
people criticized early in the year.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
My, how things change.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? He's played against the Bamas and he struggled, but
no
that's part of the process.
No doubt.
There's no advancement without struggle. And Shea is finally in a quarterback friendly system where you're not asked to win the games, you're asked to manage the games and then some. Mm-hmm. I think it's you look across the board talent wise, I think it's equal.
No doubt.
I've talked to Urban Meyer before about that, and it worried Ohio State that Michigan they're losing out on kids. That look at a Donovan Peoples-Jones and look at a Nico Collins and a Tarek Black, and those dudes. Everybody in the country wanted those dudes.
No doubt.
It's going to be a battle, man. Up front, I think Michigan's O-line has gained the continuity and the confidence that's required, and Higdon he's running the ball like he wants to be the best back in the Big Ten.
No doubt.
I call Michigan the Ravens of 2000, 2001. They beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. Great defense, offense. How the quarterback know how to win a game.
Trent Dilfer. Okay.
Great game. I mean, that's the Ravens. The Ravens
game
defense
manager.
was phenomenal.
Right.
Yep. And it's the same with Michigan defense. They're phenomenal. And Shea do not have to do a lot. You just got to manage the game.
Manage the game.
And he's been doing a great job. So I'm rooting for
him. The thing that I think is important to note about Shea is when you listen to the expectations of people, they are rooted. They are rooted in reality. Shea came from a pure spread offense in high school, pure spread at Ole Miss. So I mean, what a quarterback is asked to do in that system is totally different from what he's asked to do at Michigan. I mean, you're getting the call, you're getting the coverages, you're getting the checks, you're getting all of that before every snap that's happening, and the read progressions, the route trees, are so much simpler than the pro schemes that Michigan is running. I mean, he has to make the checks. He has to read the coverages.
Right.
He has to scan the field in order to make those. So, I think you've seen him gradually do more in the offense. I think it's to me. When you look at Shea and you say, hey, he doesn't have to win the game, you're right. But I think you need to know he can.
He can.
That's correct. Shea Patterson,
I agree.
Shea Patterson has it in him to, if the game is if it's necessary to put it on his shoulders, and he has to make plays to win the game, he can. It was just always going to be a gradual process to get him comfortable in a pro style scheme where you're asking him to do way more than he's ever had to do at that position. And I think he's there now. He's there with a comfort level with this offense, with his teammates, where now, you know, his improvisational skill can shine more. You know, the coaches are, you know, some of the play calls that maybe they weren't calling earlier in the season, they'll call now because he's capable of executing those things. So you're right. I mean, he does a great job of taking care of the football. Mm-hmm. Don't try to do too much.
Right.
But if he has to, if it comes down to it, and you need Shea Patterson to make a play, I mean, this dude is a bona fide ball player, and I think that he has it in him to really get it done. That's one of the reasons why my confidence isn't shaken going down to Columbus, knowing that team, regardless of what happened last week against Maryland, when Maryland ran it down their throat, you're going to see the best Ohio State team we've seen all season. And I just feel like now you have, to Ron's point, you got guys on the other side that will hit back. I'm talking about in the figurative sense,
Sure.
On defense and offense. And back in 2016, absolutely right. You had those elements on defense. On offense, you didn't really. And in fairness to Wilton, I think we got to cut him a little bit of slack, because remember, he went into that game with an injured shoulder. Michigan couldn't go.
Right.
They couldn't throw down the field in that game because of the injury. So everything was short. You know, you just had a whole part of the playbook that wasn't even there, and yet Michigan still almost came out on top. Now you got all your weapons. You got the quarterback ready to go. I think this is the year they get it done.
But you know what? I will say this, though. We talk about the players leaving it out on the field and giving everything they got. The coaches got to have that same mentality.
No doubt.
You can't hold it to your vest, man, because hey, this game right here, you don't get it done, it's irrelevant. This season was for nothing, you know. And the coaches got to be aggressive, man. You let your dudes play. You know, you got a great scheme. You know, they've been saving some stuff. They haven't.
Yeah, I can see that.
They haven't showed everything yet.
No, man, you can tell, man. You can tell. You can tell. You can tell they're working on some deficiencies. You know, everyone's like, oh, they're super conservative. No, there's some deficiencies, some stuff they want to work. Maybe the power game wasn't working. Maybe some of the zone stuff. Maybe some of the RPO stuff you saw a ton of RPO stuff against Indiana.
Right.
Maybe trying to get the ball to McEwen and Gentry. You know, it's a madness for what they're trying to do right now. But the coaches got to be super aggressive, and you know, this right here is it. This is it right here.
And they haven't thrown down the field a lot. Black is starting to catch it. He's looking good. People Jones is playing great football.
No doubt about it.
So things are changing. And I'm like, Ron, I don't know this weekend what's going to happen. Michigan, they got a bag of tricks coming out there. I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you.
Well, all I will say is I think Harbaugh, he has to win this game.
No question.
He has to win this game. What you say about that, Sam? What's your thoughts, man?
I mean, you know, I guess it depends on what you mean by have to win as far as the consequences is concerned. I certainly think he has to win it when it comes to the window to really compete for a championship.
Sure. Yes.
Here in the next few years. I mean, the sun, the moon, and the stars are really aligned right now.
Yeah, that's right.
In that you have a team with a lot of veterans on it. You have guys that are experienced in the scheme. That's another thing to really remember. Back in 2016, that was year one of Don Brown. So all that talent you had on the defense, you know, there was only so much he could do adjustment-wise because they weren't experienced in the scheme. I think that's one of the things that really allows this defense to perform at an even higher level. Is you can layer complexity with this squad. You know, a lot of coaches say keep it simple. Don, with this defense, with this year's defense, he said, "No, man, when they get complex, we get complex."
That's right.
And I can do that. I can change things from play to play. I don't even have to wait till halftime to do it because these guys know the scheme. So you have that at your disposal as well. And this might be the only year you have Shea Patterson.
That's true.
So you got all these things, you know, that are lined up for you to compete for a championship. If you don't get it done this year, Shea might say there's a good chance he's gone next year. Rashawn Gary will go. Chase Winovich is out of there. Devin Bush will probably go.
Wow.
You know, a lot of the big-time contributors to this team are going to be out of there. And, you know, next year, I mean, you can still be a good team, but will you be championship level?
That's a different story.
You probably won't. So from that standpoint, yeah. You know, if you're talking about competing for a championship, in this 2-3 year window or however long it will be before they're right back up to this point, then yes. Do I think if he loses this game, he's on the hot seat? No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's safe and he'll be safe for the foreseeable future. I just don't see I don't see any disenchantment with Harbaugh as a coach. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man. I mean, look, next year I can see it. I can see that being a rebuilding year, not or reloading year. Excuse me. And I could probably say that you're looking at 2020 before we're talking about Michigan, competing for a national championship again. So yeah, if now's the time to get it done, because I don't think it'll be on the table for them next year with the inexperience they're going to have out there.
Okay, hey, with Sam, I just want to say thank you, man, for calling in. Bro, we go back a long way. I appreciate you. And if you don't mind, I definitely want you to come back in the future and be on the show.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk recruiting, baby, so I'm waiting on you.
Okay?
Hey, Red, I'm going to see you at your event coming up here, man, in a few weeks.
I appreciate it on 8th. I'll get a roster out to you soon.
Sam, we'll see you there, man.
All right, man.
All right, bro.
All right, man. See y'all.
Okay.
All right, see you, Sam.
Hey, up next, we've got an Ohio State standout. Look at Ron over there. And Mr. Chris Beanie Wells, he's going to be calling in. Beanie, I mean, the name speaks for itself. Yeah. Big back, Ohio State, I want to say legend. And we're going to be glad to have him call in. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Mr. Ryan Bellamy and my co-host, Mr. Reggie Booby Wins. And we're going to come back with Mr. Chris Beanie Wells. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the Prep Stars Football Report. Again, as always, I'm your host, Derek Denham, and I got my man, Reggie Booby Wins, my co-host in studio, and Mr. Ron Bellamy, former Michigan Wolverine standout, wide out. So, Ron, man, we wait on your man from Ohio State, Mr. Beanie Wells. He should be calling in shortly. But while we waiting on Beanie to call in, I know you just had a great season, at West Bloomfield.
Oh, yeah.
And I got my man over here, Reggie Booby Wins, has got a lot of questions for you. Talk a little bit about your season, man.
Yeah, we coming off state finals. We lost to Clarkson 3-2, and we lost 31 seniors. So we had a lot of question marks, and the biggest one for us was quarterback.
Sure.
You lose Bryce Veasley, a kid that finished second in Michigan football, threw for 3,800 yards, 37 touchdowns. So you had to replace that production. And we lose, two standout wide receivers in Taj Mustafa, AJ Abbott, and but we were able to, we weren't able to replace those guys. You can't replace that, but we try to do it by committee.
Okay.
And we brought in C.J. Harris, 6'4", 190 dual threat quarterback, 2020, and we gradually let him come into his own. We didn't want to rush the process, and C.J. Early on, he slowly came by, did some things more with his legs, and as the season progressed, he was able to put the ball in the air. But like I like to say, we squeezed as much juice out of that lemon as we could this year.
Right.
We were injured, but my philosophy is next man up. We're able to finish 9-3. I'm pleased with where we finished at. We looked at it this season as coaches. We got to go back in and work on development. Certain positions we didn't play our best, but that's part of the process. We return 15 starters next year.
Sure.
So I'm assuming we'll be one of the favorites to compete for a state championship next year. And, we have some exciting players coming back. One in particular, Donovan Edwards.
No doubt.
He's a rare one.
No doubt.
Been doing high school football for a while, and seen a lot of great backs come out of the state of Michigan.
Sure.
Great football talent here in Michigan, and he's a baby, but he plays like a grown man.
Yes, he does.
Talks like one, looks like one. but nonetheless, that kid is so competitive. He makes everyone around him better.
Okay.
Because he demands a high level of competition every day in practice.
Right.
And I haven't seen a kid run hard as this kid. And he's a 2021 top running back in the country. Probably about 5'11", 6 feet, probably about 210 right now, 215. He's going to give you all that 210, 215. So coach has been asking me, who's the best explosive back in the Michigan? I'm like, well, the best one is Donovan Edwards.
Yeah.
And we don't have probably one, to be honest with you, for the next 2 years. And he's special. So all you coaches out there listening, he's special. I know he got multi-offers right now. He's going to have more. And also to speak about, let's call there.
I know this is Mr. Chris Beanie Wells from Ohio State calling in. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We
Sorry
good.
about the phone thing.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We appreciate having you, brother. We just we got Mr. Reggie Booby Wins, my co-host, and we've got a brother you might be familiar with from University of Michigan, Mr. Ron Bellamy, in the studio. And
yes, indeed.
We were just going into a little other subject matter, talking about Ron, because Ron is a head football coach up here at West Bloomfield in Michigan, and talking a little bit about their success. But we want to open it back up, if you guys don't mind, since we got Mr. Wells on the line. And we want to talk about, again, that big game on Saturday, Ohio State versus Michigan. What's your thoughts, Beanie?
Oh, man, this is certainly going to be a tough football game. When you look at years past, obviously Ohio State has had the upper hand, so I think this one is a little bit different. When you look at how Ohio State's played, more so on the defensive end, there's been kind of chinks in the armor, a lot of holes, and I think that Michigan football team is absolutely going to be chomping at the bit to get an opportunity to get at that defense. I think this game is certainly going to be about two things. It's going to be about the revenge for John Harbaugh and for Michigan, and it's going to be about the underdog for Ohio State. They haven't been in this situation one playing Michigan in a long time, so it's going to get real interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with that, Chris. It's one of those things where honestly, you throw the records out. You played this game, I played this game. You throw the records out, man. You walk in that, you walk in that environment. I mean, shoot, man. As soon as we get off the airplane, we get booed. So it's a hostile crowd. The one thing I like for Michigan this week in this game is they've been on the road. Although they played at Notre Dame, they didn't get it done, but they played there. They played at a hostile environment in Michigan State. They were able to get it done. But this game is going to be a physical football game. It's going to be one in the trenches. We talk about how great the quarterbacks are. You got some great running backs. You got Higdon. You have Dobbins. Weber. It's going to be some Chris Evans. It's going to be some big plays by the in the backfield that's going to dictate the outcome of this game. Coach Meyer coaches special teams. It's going to be a special teams game. You look at the Ohio State-Michigan State game. Ohio State was able to pull away with great special teams play. Pinning Michigan State inside the 10-yard line numerous times. So this game, everyone talks about offense, defense, but don't sleep on the special teams.
Wow.
Oh, no doubt, man. I agree 100%. I think obviously when you look at Ohio State and Michigan, you see that they play each other. You know, it's going to be won or lost in the trenches. And no matter, you know, where they are in respective offenses is for each football team. I mean, the offensive line and defensive line is going to be critical, and that's one of the areas Ohio State has struggled with the past couple of weeks is up front blocking guys, making sure they get a hat on the hat. Now, I do think they've gotten better, you know, from the standpoint of, you know, limiting the RPOs and making it easier on the offensive line. When you know you're going to be run blocking opposed to pass blocking, your mentality is a little bit different. And I think they've kind of gotten that into gear. I think we've seen the past couple of weeks, you know, how they've got the run game going. But it's still going to be interesting, man. When you look at the fact that, you know, they got one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He's probably going to be the second defensive lineman taken in the draft outside of Nick Bosa, and that's Rashawn Gary. I mean, the dude is a stud and amazing. So this is going to be a hard-fought battle. But, I mean, obviously we both have played in it, and we both understand the magnitude of the moment and how important it is. And, you know, more so for myself, speaking from a kid that grew up in Ohio and knowing, you know, the rich tradition and my childhood, I mean, it wasn't filled with too many great memories. I mean, the 90s, the mid-90s were tough years when it came to that rivalry. So, you know, I know how important it was for me when I got the opportunity to play at Ohio State, knowing that I'd have a chance to play and make an impact in that rivalry game. It was critical for me, and I imagine it is for a bunch of other kids that obviously went to Ohio State and went to Michigan and that's going to play in this game this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you guys play, who was the biggest trash talker? I know the games in your time, Bellamy, being in your time, I know some players just talking the whole game. And that make the game, I mean, that's how I play. That game's fun that way. But, I mean, some of them is funny as heck. So I know you got some stories. Who've been talking mess? I know you got a couple of funny stories. I know you guys do.
We'll start with Beanie. Who you got, Beanie?
Oh, man, there's a couple of guys that on the Michigan side, they happen to be my really good friends. I mean, Lamar Woolley and Steve Preston. Yeah. You know, Wood is traditionally like a funny, happy-go-lucky guy, but when that game week came about, you know, I would get the text messages back and forth going, and, you know, you hear his mouth. And Steve Preston, who's an ultra-quiet guy, but we knew each other for some time. You know, he would get to join back and forth. But I don't think they got any bigger trash talker than Mike Hart. And that's a guy that he's going to talk junk with the best of them. He's going to be able to back it up because of his play. So Mike Hart was probably the all-time, you know, biggest trash talker in that rivalry from my experience.
Yeah, for me, you know, we missed each other by a couple of years, but mine was Mike Doss, Chris Gamble, and Maurice Claret. You know, so that's right. So we now we went toe to toe with those guys, and even one of my really good friends, I know Beanie, you look up to him, is Big Cat Jonathan Wells. Jonathan and I grew up together in Louisiana and played against each other in high school, and you know, it's just one of those games, man. It's respect. Everyone always asks about Michigan and our rivals. Notre Dame, we don't play them every year. We love them, you know, great program, whatever. Right. Michigan State, we hate you. You know, we don't respect you. We hate you because that's just what it is.
That's how it is.
That's how it is. Ohio State, we got, you know, you want to beat them, but you respect. When that game over with, you dap them up, you give them a hug. It's like, hey, good luck next week. That's you know, and that's the part of the rivalry, man. And when we leave it on the field and we move on and whatever the fans do with that, but Ohio State is, it's almost like a Rocky fight. After Rocky fights, man, you know, it's, you know, he's always showing love to whoever he fought at the end, and that's what Michigan Ohio State is.
Wow.
No, it's certainly a slugfest. But I got to ask you, obviously being a kid from Louisiana, how important, you know, or not really how important, but how did you adapt to the rivalry, and was it easy for you to kind of, you know, get caught up with the tradition of the rivalry? Being from Louisiana and not being an Ohio or a Michigan kid.
Yeah, you know what? It took me. My first time playing the game was in Ann Arbor, and I watched the hate. I watched the hatred that the Michigan fans had for the Buckeye fans, and I was like, this is real. I know because I didn't know I'm from Louisiana, so LSU doesn't have that rival like that. And I remember Schembechler Hall, you know, during the week of the game. You know, you hear the Ohio State fight song. Right. You know, you got old games up of Ohio State, Michigan, and you know, it's Coach Cooper's last year. So it's just one of those things, man, where I learned very quickly. You know, you don't see that in Louisiana too much. I learned very quickly how the rivalry went. I had played in one the Michigan State game, and They were loaded. Plexico Burris was there, T.J. Duckett, and
doubt.
when I left that game,
well, 98, 99.
yeah, man. When I left that game, man, I've never seen so many dudes get spit on, punched in, you know what, in the games. I was like, whoa. I was floored by it.
Yeah.
You know, but my first year, man, we had some legends playing in that game. You know, Tom Brady was our quarterback, and you know, Anthony Thomas, Steve Hutchinson. We had some Hall of Famers playing in that game, and I learned very quickly the importance of the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. It took a game for me to realize it.
Hey, Beanie,
Gotcha.
I just want to say, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a holiday weekend, and we've been teasing everybody because we know everybody cooking and frying turkeys and doing all types of things.
Man.
So
I'm out here now, getting mine going.
I know you are.
baby.
And Stan Edwards told me that you did a podcast with Braylon. Are you still doing that with Braylon? Y'all still doing that?
Man, we're not doing it with Braylon anymore.
Okay.
I'm sure we have a podcast here with a couple of Buckeyes.
Okay, well, we definitely want to check you out, and we want to definitely welcome you back at some point in the future.
No doubt about it. I appreciate you guys having me.
Appreciate you, man, and go blue.
Go blue, baby.
Oh, man.
All right, bro. Take care. Caller, go ahead, caller.
This is Sean.
Sean Sear, 247 Sports. What's up, brother?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good, man. We know you out there with little James and all the kids shopping. Be ready the night before Thanksgiving, but we appreciate you calling in, man.
Man, I've been waiting on you, man. I mean, hey, look, I got the legend in here.
I'm not shopping.
Hey, look.
I am hanging out with the kids.
I got Coach Bellamy in, and he had about 10 Division I players in the last 3 years. Man, I'm just anxious to talk about C.J. Harris. I've been waiting on you, man. So you got to tell me about C.J. Harris, man. What type of player he is.
Hook us up.
He's a dynamic player. I mean, CJ is that type of player that, I mean, he's a plug-and-play player. I mean, he's that player that he's unselfish, that he'll play any position on the field that he has the ability to play. And he's a playmaker, you know?
Right.
You know, his unselfishness allows him to, you know, be that player that can be versatile, which will allow him to probably excel at the next level if given that opportunity.
So my question to you is, and I know we got a University of Michigan grad here. Can C.J. Harris play for Michigan State? You've been recruiting enough. You know type coach D'Antoni looking for. I mean, I'm just trying to get ahead of the game recruiting. And is he's a type of player? Can he run RPO? He can throw it. He can run it. He can catch it. He can kick it. Whatever you want. But can he play at Michigan State? I mean, this is your opinion. This is not D'Antonio's opinion.
I feel he has the ability to play, and he's that type of player that, I mean, excels at Michigan State. I mean, he reminds me. You guys remember Keyshawn Martin, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
That's who he reminds me of.
Ooh.
You know, and he's got that ability to play.
Ooh.
So,
what do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a versatile kid. Someone that there's times you put him at receiver. You obviously quarterback, and he's long. He went from 6'1" to 6'4", and CJ continues to grow. I told him stop growing, man. For the basketball guys, try to start recruiting you, but nonetheless, man, his recruitment is going to blow up. Starting Monday. Starting Monday.
I said Monday is right. It started first.
Yeah, they appears over Monday. Coaches get back on the road, and I've had over 20 Power 5 coaches call me. Sending tapes out already. So he's a kid that he's going to see a huge spike in his recruitment. 3.5 GPA, high character kid, voted as a captain as a junior, and it's his time now.
Right.
Right. What can you talk about? Hey, Donovan Edwards, what do you think about him? I know he can play at Michigan State. What do you think?
I mean, I think he's another player that can play at Michigan State. But I don't make those decisions.
We understand.
We know that.
But we're just asking you from an insider point of view.
Hey, it's so good when it come across from you. I just love the conversation.
Yeah, we want to hear what you say.
I mean, yeah, I think he has the ability. But I think he's one of those players that likely would redshirt, learn the scheme, build his body to where it needs to be, then play. I think Harris, CJ, he's a player I think he plays as a true freshman. Edwards, on the other hand, I think that's likely a redshirt candidate, but definitely.
Ron over here. Hey,
you got to flap that around.
Yeah,
Ron.
Around. Here like this, Donovan Edwards is a kid that the Big Ten coaches right now, they need to be doing everything in their power because if they don't take care of him, he's going to play at Alabama. Bottom line, he's that type of player.
He is.
Wow.
He's the best football player that I've been around in the state of Michigan in a very long time, and Michigan has a very rich football tradition.
Hey.
Well, I see they had Justin Rogers up at Michigan State.
Oh, yeah. They got to. In Michigan State or Michigan?
Yeah.
Both.
No, Michigan State.
They have to.
Yeah,
Michigan
Michigan
had
State.
both, yeah.
Have you watched that offensive line lately? Yeah, they have to. They have to. So, Sean, go ahead.
I mean, Michigan State's I would say they're the dark horse in that recruitment. Don't count D'Antonio out when coming to recruit that kid. But right now, I would say Ohio State's the team to beat.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, I'm bringing Donovan Edwards back to you, baby. I'm going to prove you, baby. He's going to be Alabama back. He's going to be number one. No, I'm telling y'all. And I'm saying this not because Ron's here. I've been watching this kid since 8th grade. He will be the top running back in the country.
Hands down.
Hands down by the senior. I haven't seen nobody. Hey, I'm going to say one name he remind you of, Mikey Weber.
I know.
And we let Mike Weber get away.
Yes, we did.
I think but the thing is like a player like that, I mean, he benefits so much from a red shirt.
Right.
That 1 year is such a blessing for kids.
Look. A little bit about Donovan Edwards. In the 8th grade, he was the Oakland County champ in the 100-meter dash. He ran a 10.9 FAT in the 8th grade, 13 years old.
Wow.
Right now, he's coming off a broken ankle, but he's going to run track this year. He didn't run it as a freshman. He's probably one of the favorites to win the 100-meter dash at the state track meet.
10-7.
Okay. A 200-pound sophomore running back, all right? Another thing about Donovan, you put Donovan in the slot, he runs routes. The most comparable person that you can make with Donovan is Ty Gurley. And I know that's a huge comparison, but there's not too many. Donovan's going to probably be 6'1", 6'2" when it's all said and done.
Yeah, big back.
And he's a kid that his football IQ is off the charts. Right. Whether it's RPOs you're running with him, whether it's power, you can put him in the backfield. You can run Wildcat with him. He's a punt returner, kick returner. He's dynamic. Not every running back could do that because they don't have the ball skills to do that.
Right.
And his pass protection is something that we wanted him to work on, and he became a really good pass pro guy. So the biggest thing that stops a young running back from playing early in college is being able to protect the quarterback.
No doubt.
And he's learning how to do that now in the 10th grade. So I think for Donovan, I can tell you what, if a coach ain't going to play him, he ain't going to play for their program. I guarantee you that. But I do know Donovan has been he's been to Auburn. He's been to Florida State. So, he's been to a couple of the big programs. I tell all the coaches that come in and recruit him, I say, don't just think this kid's going to stay in the Midwest.
Right.
This kid is looking at the SEC schools as well.
Right. What I want to do, Sean, I gotta cut you off. We gotta go to a break, and then I've got Mr. John Chubb calling in from Ohio State. But Sean, we're gonna definitely get with you next week. Hey man, happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey, and we'll talk to you next week. Okay?
You guys have a wonderful holiday.
Hey, Sean,
appreciate you, bro.
Hey, be on December 8th. Be on time. I'm looking for you.
Hey, we'll be right back with the Prep Stars Football Report. And welcome back to the Prep Stars Football Report. I'm your host, Derek Denham. I got my host, Mr. Reggie Booby Wins. Also got former Michigan Wolverine wide receiver standout, Mr. Ron Bellamy.
Detroit Lions. NFL, Ravens, Miami Dolphins.
Right. And also, we got on the line Ohio State. How can I phrase this? He's the man that you see at all Ohio State football games.
That's annoying the hell out you.
Mr. John Chubb, a.k.a. Mr. Buckeye himself. What's going on, brother?
Yep. What up?
How you doing, man?
I'm real good. First off, I want to say hello to the panel.
Yes, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving for them and their family.
Yes, hey, we appreciate that, man. First things first. How did you get started, man, with all this, man? I mean, like I said, we see you up here in Michigan. You are the fan of all fans for Ohio State. How did all that come about?
Listen, man, we're excited about it, man. You know, it's in your DNA.
Sure.
You're born with it. My father, my brother, my uncle, everybody. It's Scarlet and Gray, baby, all the way. You know how it is. Ask all the folks from up there in maize and blue. It's the same way, man. It's Michigan week.
So when you come up here for the big game, what kind of flack you get from the Michigan fans?
All kind of flack. What you talking about? You kidding me? When you right there in the matter of fact, I was at an event last night, and some Michigan greats were down here.
Sure.
Matter of fact, Jack Harbaugh was here.
Okay.
Jeff Reeves was here.
Mm-hmm.
Mikowski and all them guys was here. What it is, man, we was raising money, you know what I'm saying? You know, for cancer and diabetes and all kind of stuff like that. It's unbelievable, man. You know, I like when you walk across from Pioneer High School.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
We with you.
From Pioneer High School, and the police even talking crazy.
Well, look. I can speak. And I'm sure Ron and Reggie can account for this. I know a few people's gotten some tickets going to Ohio State game, going up 75 South.
Already know. No. I'm talking about it's the cross guard.
Oh,
right here
at Pioneer High School. Okay.
I know exactly you're talking about.
Hey, I do have a funny story though. Hey, John, I do have a funny story.
It's Ron Bellamy for you.
My junior year in college. What's up, brother? Go Blue, man.
I know. I get it.
Hey, look, my junior year, man, it was Tressel's first year. And I was leaving, I was going back to my apartment, man, and I was speeding. So I get pulled over by the state trooper. And I'm like, man, we just lost a football game. Right. I'm like, man, I'm about to get a ticket. What could get worse? So the officer pulled down. I gave him my license, registration, and he looked at the name. It's like, you play ball? I was like, yes, sir. He goes, I'm going to let you go, son. I was like, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. He was like, I'm a Buckeye.
Whoa.
He said, I'm not going to make your day any worse.
No.
He said, drive safe and go home.
Now, here's some history. I don't know that you're familiar with this.
Sure.
There's one person's name in all of Ann Arbor that's not a Michigan man or woman, and it's Jesse Owen. Jesse Owen broke track records up there.
Yep.
He broke 2 or 3 records in like an hour, and his name is up at Ann Arbor right now.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Let me ask you this, John. John,
give it to me.
Not. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I'm telling you, man. There's a rich history there, in Ann Arbor. I go down by the student union, you know, it's sitting and take it all in. You know, dude.
They must have known who you was then.
How did you manage?
I know what it is down there. Y'all got Darth Vader. You kidding me? Come on, man. Darth Vader?
Hey, look. We had 2 of Ohio State finest with Mr. Chris Spielman and Mr. Charles Woodson.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how y'all let them out the state, but yeah, thank you.
We didn't have Spielman. Oh, for the Lions.
For the Lions.
Oh,
Chris
yeah,
Spielman.
for the Lions.
Yeah. Buckeye.
Desmond Howard, too.
Desmond Howard.
Desmond Howard's an Ohio guy. Elvis Gerbach.
The quarterback, yeah. Elvis.
So we appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, Charles Woodson.
That's right.
Woodson, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you guys.
I was watching the documentary. Charles Woodson donated 10 large. When I say 10 large,
yeah, he sure
that
did.
was $10 million.
$10 million.
To the hospital. They named a wing after him.
Yeah, sure did.
No doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Listen, y'all. I got my ear to the ground up there on y'all. I see y'all doing some good things. My very dear high school friend is Jeff Reeves. Jeff Reeves played a defensive back for y'all back in the day.
Sure.
And we went to high school together, and he was here on this lecture panel last night, man. I'm telling you, man. Listen, y'all are yin, and we y'all's yang. Ain't no Ohio State without Michigan. Ain't no Michigan without Ohio State. Dude, I already know.
Well, look, John, we got about 1 minute left. I need you to give me, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask anyway. Give me your bold prediction and how many points Michigan is going to win by.
Okay, here it is. Here's my bold prediction.
Sure.
It's going to be one heck of a game, 12 noon, Saturday in the Horseshoe. We're going to roll in there. I'm telling you, it's going to be two Titans. It's going to be two Titans of the university. You know what I'm saying? Y'all going to hold y'all down. We're going to hold ours down. We're going to roll out the helmets and see where the darn chips fall.
So what did he put a score in there?
No, he ain't confident. He ain't confident.
He didn't. I didn't hear a score.
He ain't confident.
Listen, y'all. I'd have been interviewed by ESPN,
okay,
Fox News Network, and I bet you don't try to tie me down in those stories.
Hey, brother. Hey, I just want to say I know it's like I said, it's Thanksgiving Eve. We appreciate you, man, for calling in. Maybe we'll follow back up with you next week to talk about the post game. But we appreciate you, man. Go ahead.
Look, you can call me during the game. I'll be on ESPN College Game Day, baby.
Okay.
Game Day here.
There it is. Well, hey, appreciate you, John, man. Hey, much love. Happy Thanksgiving. We're going to talk to you soon, okay?
All right, man. Go Bucks.
Okay, go blue.
Go blue, baby.
Hey, I'm sorry we got to come take this show to an end. Hey, thanks for everybody out there listening. Want to say again from Ron and from my man Reggie Booby Wins, have a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, and we'll see you guys next week on the Prep Stars Football Report.
Hey, Miss Bellamy, Ron's on the way home.
She's outside. She outside. Yeah, she was running a couple errands.
I know. Man, you heard the part of the manager people talking.
Jesus.